So before we call the meeting to order, please put your cell phones on mute or vibrate, if you would. Turn your microphones on, commissioners. Time being 6 o'clock, I will call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Don,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Wanda,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Sherry.
Here. We do have a quorum present. Don, go ahead.
In remembrance of the 4th of July, I'd like everyone to stand for a minute, and I'll read off those people that we should be reminded of during this. First, the United States Marines, United States Navy, United States Army, United States Coast Guard, our nation's police force, our nation's highway patrol, our local EMS team, our doctors and nurses. I would remind all of you that freedom's not free. There's many people that have given their lives and much more to make a life like we have here. Thank you. Air Force. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Item number 3, does any commissioner have a reason to abstain for a financial or a non-financial conflict of interest?
None.
I do not.
No.
I do not.
I do not.
Okay. Item number 4 is approval of agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Healy, second by Fox to approve the agenda as presented. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. At this time, would any citizen care to make a public comment? Public comment is closed with no comments. Moving on to item number 5, approve Marina Grill Package off-sale liquor license. Is this a hearing? Do we need to do this at 6:10? Okay, so let's skip number 5 and we'll go to number 6, which is the abatement, Mr. Putoff, and then a couple other items that he has.
Evening. The abatement we have in front of us today is an exempt person that qualified as retroactive. So it's a parcel that starts with 78. And we are asking for the abatement of a total $2,289.02.
Move approval of the abatement.
Second.
I have a motion by Clemish, second by Healy to approve the abatement for $2,289.02. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
The next item I had, last week, we had one of our former employees, Nancy Brockmiller, stop up to the office, and she graciously offered her assistance to that office to help us gain some experience back on a part-time basis. This will be less than 20 hours a week and only carry through till about the end of the year, which is about 24, 25 weeks. I thought this would be an opportunity to bring this to you guys' attention, that it would be a great way that starting next week, day one, we could gain a lot of our experience back on a short-term basis, but to help fill that void that we've been without a full-time staff since nearly February. So this, this wouldn't cost the county very much. It would gain our office quite a bit in return. And just looking through our budgeting numbers so far, even at the full 20 hours for the full 25 weeks, we are already behind what we normally would have paid out now. We're just short of about $19,000 in salary that we normally would have paid out by now. This would cost us just over 11.5 if she worked the full 20 hours every week. So I think it would be a great benefit to the office, but I wanted to give you guys that option.
Any questions?
How long would this go for?
No longer than the end of the year, which is about 24 weeks, 25 weeks. And for no more than 20 hours a week. So it's a part-time temporary position. No benefits that would get included with that, just salary and withholdings.
Refresh me, when did this person resign or retire?
She
December.
retired at the end of last year.
Okay.
In December. So we currently have the director position open, and timeline to fill that at the earliest would be mid-August, probably at the earliest. If it's a brand new person who's not been in that role, there is a training.
Correct.
If it's someone from our office who fulfills that role, then we have another opening that we have to fill. So that probably would put us back into September, October to get at full staff. So this is one reason that I did talk to the equalization staff about this. It's a stopgap to get us through. And the other challenge we have is it's the busy season.
Yes.
We are all supposed to be out looking at houses and appraising, and we have a brand new appraiser who's still going through training
Correct.
and another appraiser who is still to some degree being trained.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
have a lot of newbies, for lack of a better term, in the office. So
And Nancy was our sales ratio specialist, basically, in that office. She has over 25 years of experience in that position. And we are trying to train basically 3 new people on that sales ratio. And she would be able to step in day one and help us out immensely.
Is your plan to keep her even if you hire, we hire a director, you still want to keep her till the end of the year?
I wanted to kind of leave that as the option. Like Sherry said, if we do have to hire a couple from outside the office, we're still going to be with some brand new staffing. But I did feel like we could probably limit it at the end of the year. So this would be probably just be to carry through 2021 only.
okay. Any other questions?
Well, I'd be in support of doing it. Do we need a motion?
And did you have an hourly rate?
I had figured what she was making when she left and then just added the 1.5 COLA to go to the 2021 year. So it would be a straight hourly rate. There's not a salary or anything like that. It would be based on however many hours she works in that week. I had 2142 would be that adjusted to 2021.
Okay. So we do need a motion to approve the part-time position and then the hourly rate and include no more than 20 hours a week.
Correct. And
Through
no
the end
more
of the
than
year.
25 weeks.
Okay, so if anyone's comfortable making a motion, I'd entertain a motion.
So in this, just to be clear, this is just a one-time thing next year. This is just because of the situation. So,
Yep.
got it.
I would hope by September, we're hopefully getting close to full staff again, October. And then we wouldn't necessarily need this position at that point.
I'd move approval of the request for temporary employment, not to exceed 20 hours a week through the remainder of 2021 at an hourly rate of $21.42.
Second.
So I have a motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve a part-time personnel for the equalization office, no more than 20 hours a week through the end of the year at an hourly rate of $21.42. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. And then the last thing here is Jeff is currently serving as interim director, and historically, we have given folks who are appointed to do that an extra $1 an hour to compensate for the additional responsibilities. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve an extra $1 per hour for Jeff.
So move.
Second.
So I have a motion by Kettering, second by Clemish to approve an extra $1 an hour for the interim director of equalization. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's 6:10. We will go back to item number 5, approve the Marina Grill package off-sale liquor license. And this is the only application we have received so far.
Correct.
They are outside the 3-mile radius of a municipality. And we can do 7 total.
Well, I'd move approval of the application for the Marina Grill.
Second.
I have a motion by Healy, second by Fox to approve the Marina Grill application for off-sale liquor license. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item 7. Mr. Slotchek, there you are.
Good evening.
Let's start with the paving plan.
Paving plan for 2021. As soon as we're done asphalt patching, getting ready for chip seal, we intend on paving the 3 miles north of Irene to 294, between 294 and Irene. And then after that, plan on starting at on Walshtown Road, north of Highway 46, south off of 291st Street. With the dollars that were set aside back in January, I'm hoping that should get us close to 303 Johnson Bridge Road. So, is there any questions on that?
I got a question. Originally, you said that you didn't want to do Walshtown Road because Highway 46 is gonna be redone. I know Walshtown Road needs to be done. Nobody disagrees with that. But my concern is that when Highway 46 is offline, we're gonna get a lot more traffic, and that traffic is gonna be on a brand new road. And I think we're gonna have a not as nice of a road after we get all that extra truck traffic. I certainly think it needs to be redone, but my concern is it's gonna get beat up while Highway 46 is being redone. So that's my concern with that.
So I talked this over with engineer at the DOT also, just to make sure I was thinking clearly on this. I don't really feel there will be a lot of increased truck traffic other than local traffic. Going south on Walshtown Road, you have Johnson Bridge Road, or Johnson Bridge, which is load rated. You have Fleegs, which is load rated. Plus, so say they're coming down the Viborg Road, truck going to Yankton, why would they go down that road when state highway is right there? Other than if they're trying to jump the port, but that is going to do them no good with them other two bridges there. I do agree with you, there will be an increase in car traffic, but I don't feel the truck traffic will be a great impact. The road that I think that'll be impacted the most will be 448, because that goes, I believe, all the way to 44 to 50. 18. So if any road was going to see an increase, it would be that one, which I would think a trucking outfit, there's a lot of stops and goes along that stretch, so they might detour from that also.
It also depends on where they're gonna shut traffic off. You know, there's nothing saying, I would imagine 452 is gonna see something. And they'll close from 452 to probably to Walshtown. And maybe 448 doesn't
Right.
get it. And without knowing that, it's hard to say, but I would agree that I don't see an increase in truck traffic because they get down to Old 50 and they're backtracking now.
And I would think 452, there'd be more increased traffic going south than north.
Right.
Any other questions for Mike on this subject?
So you're gonna use American Rescue Plan dollars for this thing?
This would have been money set aside from last year from the COVID.
Yep, so this would have been the CARES Act dollars at the end of the year we set aside for Mike, because we had $2.5 million through that CARES Act fund.
Why not another road instead of, again, Walshtown, we all agree it needs to be done. My concern is there will be an increase in truck traffic. Hopefully it doesn't cause damage. But why not do a road somewhere else you had planned? Then when Highway 46 is done, come back to Walshtown Road when we're not going to get that traffic. And then I feel we'll have a better quality road for the residents. It might be a year later, but there's less of a chance it's going to receive damage. I know we don't think we'll get much traffic, but there is a lot of truck traffic on Highway 46, and people who aren't familiar with the area are going to take the detours, and they're going to get on their GPS and they're going to go probably where they shouldn't. It happens. So I would feel better if we did another road and came back, and I think we'll have a better quality road in the end for the citizens of the county.
What road are you looking at, Dan?
Whatever he would recommend, but we're taking a big chance redoing this road when Highway 46 is gonna be tore up. We're gonna get traffic diverted. When I was at the DOT meeting in Irene, when we talked about Highway 46, they're doing a major renovation for that road. They're cutting down hills, they're filling hills. It's gonna take a lot longer than we think it's gonna, especially that section from Highway 81 East. It's gonna take a long time. And if we have a nice brand new road there, people are gonna take it. You can't blame them, but we're gonna pay the cost for that. I'd hate to spend all this money and get a nice road, have it wrecked, and then we're right back where we began. That's my concern.
And I would think with that view, any road we put dollars in, because 46 isn't the only state highway going to see work. 81 is going to see some major work coming up here as well. So we can't delay some of our infrastructure projects just because of that. Now, I do agree with Joe and Mike that the Walshtown Road is probably the least likely bypass road of all the roads on the east side of the county from that jump perspective. And we have more dollars with the ARPA funding that is coming. We've already recognized about $1 million can be freed up and put into infrastructure for other projects, and that discussion will occur, and those roads will be addressed next year. Now, is it 294, the one that's circled there that we ground?
That's
And that one we are delaying
till 2024.
to 2024 when 46 is done, because that road, if we went and put pavement on that this year, that would be bypassed. That
Right.
would be a good bypass road, but we
Well, it's a
chose not to
parallel-
do
yeah,
that
it's
because it's parallel to
46.
46. So I do agree. I think Walshtown is at a lower priority than our other roads for bypasses right now. And I certainly support Mike's decision to do this road first.
You know, and then in the future too, yeah, we could work on finishing Old 50 and taking that to Vollen. But there again, that is a heavy travel road and that may see more increased traffic also. Johnson Bridge Road, that's another one that needs to be overlaid. Well, this would be a good time. This would not be a bad time to do that one either. Tabor Road, just looking at the roads on the west side, the worst road would be the Tabor Road and the east-west Utica Road. Those would be the two in the worst shape. Well, Tabor Road is on schedule to be chip sealed this year. Now, it may sound foolish to chip it and then pave it next year, but we should have a lot less reflective cracking because the small cracks have been sealed.
Yep, and the Utica Road is a B-level road.
Correct.
We are supposed to address A-level roads first.
Mike, we spent a lot of time on a 5-year plan for roads. We had a road commission group that studied roads and what we should do, and they made their recommendations. And it just seems to me like we should be following that. Does this recommendation of yours pretty much follow that?
For the paving,
Yes.
we have not had paving in the
The
5-year plan.
Yeah.
I think the
We've-
task force is what he's referring
Yeah.
to.
Well, the task force, all we did was identify our A, B, and C roads.
Yeah.
Which roads,
But
yes,
that-
and this would be following the
That's
task
right.
force.
Yep, because the discussion was if we ever had a windfall, the money goes in the A roads.
Right.
And I think the task force identified Walshtown as. the
They
first
identified
road.
Walshtown as the first road. So any other questions on pavement? So let's move to the entrance application and right-of-ways discussion. And this was put on the agenda because right now, both of these must come before the county commission for approval. Did you get feedback from your other counties on?
I got feedback from 2 other counties and they do not have to take entrance or right-of-ways to the commission for approval.
So it just requires the highway superintendent's signature. Okay, so that's what the discussion is do we want to continue seeing those at the commission level? Or do we want to delegate that authority to the highway superintendent?
I would move that we delegate it to the highway superintendent.
Second.
So I have a motion by Fox and a second by Kettering to delegate approval for entrance applications and rights of ways to the highway superintendent, essentially taking the commission out of it. Discussion.
Do you have a checklist now that you use to determine those?
Yes, like specifications and stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess I don't, in my time, we have never not taken Mike's recommendation. I certainly don't go drive out to every application site that's in the packet. I take Mike's word for it, so I don't see why we can't speed that process up. If you're comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's,
Okay,
If he's got a question, you can always bring it to us. Yes.
all right, so the motion on the table is to delegate the authority. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. We will no longer see those. You're good to go.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Mr. Scherschlick.
Good evening. I am here tonight for three projects. One of them was kind of, first one we'll go over, and we'll go in the order that they're on your agenda, is the burn ban resolution, the temporary burn ban for Yankton County. Even though we did get a bit of rain today, we still believe that this burn ban is necessary to be put in place until we get significant rain to hamper any fire or wildfire dangers within the county. So it is basically, I worked with Deb. We did not put an end date in this one, or I did not, because we don't know when we're going to get the rain. But as soon as it will be, we will release it back to, open burning again and move forward as we would day to day. So it's basically the same thing you approved back in March. I think it was in March. Same plan or same resolution, just worded different dates. Yes.
Who decides how much is enough rain?
The fire departments, the chiefs, officers, they talk with different people within their areas. They got a pretty good handle on what's going on. They monitor also the Division of Wildland Fire. They put out a packet. I sent you the one packet that came from a guy by the name of Darren Clabo. It was that 14-page document about the different sectors. The Weather Service, we're working with them all the time and making sure, what's the levels coming up, the RHs, the groundwater. We're in a D2 drought condition in most of Yankton County. The southwestern part of the county is in a D3. I don't know when we're going to see a change in any of that right now. They thought they were going to see a forecast of it going up across the county last week, but it didn't. It stayed the same. So that was a kind of a blessing in disguise. So there's a lot of factors that we look at working with the fire departments around the area in our county to making sure that we're making the right judgment calls as we go.
Am I reading the last paragraph right, that it's a $200 fine and the costs of suppressing the fire?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And not inclusive?
No.
Any other questions on the burn ban? Entertain a motion.
So we'll,
Second.
So I have a motion to approve the temporary burn ban resolution, which takes effect as soon as I sign it.
Yep. That'd be tonight.
And a second. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
You have one, Patty. Okay. The next thing I brought before you is the Yankton County, actually I brought the signature page for the Yankton County LEOP. It's our emergency operation plan that we use for the county. It was like 1,500 pages
I
long.
read it.
Did you read it all, Dan?
No, I skimmed it. but
Okay.
I looked at pictures.
Most of it, when I say it was a rewrite, it wasn't, we went and changed any names, like if somebody, a different title, a new fire chief, a new somebody here or there, your guys' names got added to different parts of the document with different places. And then any new state statutes that might have changed that regulate how we run things. The state of South Dakota has approved our LEOP, and now it moves on to you guys. And then from you, we will take it to each community and have them sign off on it once you guys approve it, so that everybody, when we have an incident within the county, we all follow the same docket, if you will. So I guess I am asking for you to, if somebody asks why I didn't bring the paperwork here, there are things within the plan that are actually, I don't want to say secretive, but it's how we do business and not, that's part of things with open meeting rules. And you might have to help me on the technical term, but we just can't, civil defense or civil disturbance, things of that
It's
nature.
classified.
Classified, there you go, for your eyes only kind of thing. So, but anyway, we just wanted to bring that here before it so we can move on with moving forward.
So you need a motion to adopt the emergency operation plan.
Correct.
I would move to adopt the emergency operation plan.
Second.
So I have a motion by Fox, second by Clemish to adopt the Yankton County Emergency Operation Plan. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. And the last thing I have, This has been a work in progress. We've been at this about 4 years between Rob's office and Deb and myself and the Attorney General's office. We needed something that would allow us to, when we go into Nebraska and work with Cedar County and Knox County, have a mutual aid agreement that would allow us to either, we could bill people or where insurance covers across the state lines. There were just so many things it wouldn't do before. So working back with everybody, the powers, Department of Homeland Security, all this stuff. About a month ago, we got a letter, and I sent it with you, from the governor. She signed the docket saying that this was a very nice, good work on our part going forward of the county, looking to better serve our citizens and be able to do this. And so anybody, we want to start out, we're going to be the host of the document. And then we will pass it out to the counties in Cedar, Knox County. But any other agency around us that wants to sign on to this docket can be part of this. But the 3 counties are going to be kind of the parent, if you will, of the mutual aid. We've already gotten calls from other counties on like around Minnehaha, Rapid City. Worked with the EM out there. He's got the document now to start putting it on that side of the state for their kind of agreements, because they work with neighboring partners. And usually, a lot of times, if we went over to Nebraska on a mission, our workman's comp might not cross state lines because it's South Dakota workman's comp. Well, now if they call us to help them, their workman's comp covers us, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of factors. The only thing it doesn't do is doesn't cover law enforcement going across state lines. That got way too muddy to do that, but reciprocity, there I got the word, for like EMS licenses and other things does work with this contract or this agreement. So we were real happy to get this, but we want you guys to be the first signatures on this so that we can move forward as a Yankton County and then go on up.
Any questions for Paul?
Move approval of the joint powers agreement between Yankton County, Cedar County, and Knox County, Nebraska.
Second.
So I have a motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the joint powers agreement, which is between our county and the 2 Nebraska counties to our south. Further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Nice job on this, Paul.
Thank you very much.
It
Paul,
was good.
Yes.
one question. Do you work on the burn ban? You work with the feds on like the CRP
Yep.
burns?
Yeah, they'll know what's, yeah. And I haven't been told yet, but, and again, this is a rumor, strictly a rumor. Like Bonhomme County, August 1st went on, they're opening up half the CRP. So they're going to be able to hay it, grass it, or whatever. We heard that Yankton County will be doing the same, but have not got that official letter yet or notice. Because we're still in a D2 where a lot of theirs is a D3. But yes, we work with the USDA and different agencies so they know what we're going on. And right now, we're out of the pheasant season or the CRP burning May 15th thing or May 1st, whatever you want to call it. So yes, we are.
Thank you.
You want me to write Yankton County and then just
Oh,
sign?
sure. Yes, please. Sorry.
There you go.
No, you don't need to sign that. We're good. And once I get this filled out, I'll get you the original. Okay. Any other questions? All
Thank
right,
you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
All right. Hi, Gary.
Next up, we have the Yankton, first reading to consider the recommendation to adopt Yankton County Drainage Ordinance number 19, proposed amendments per ordinance 21 ZN03.
So this is the first reading, and at this time, we will entertain public comment. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and we usually allow for at least an hour of public comment. If anyone would like to comment on the drainage ordinance amendments, please come forward. All right, there is no public comment. We will close public comment for the first reading of the drainage ordinance. Commissioners, do you have any discussion at this time before we close the first hearing?
Have none.
No? All right, we will close the first reading of the Yankton County Drainage Ordinance.
And when is the second?
The second reading will be in
July
2 weeks
20th.
at our next meeting. And we are right on 6:35.
And the second one is to consider recommendation to adopt Yankton County Ordinance 2020 Amendment to Definitions and the complete Article 5 Agricultural District AG per Ordinance 21 ZN05.
All right, there's a couple different things here. At the Planning Commission, there were amendments proposed to the document. And what we are going to do tonight is to discuss the amendments first. We will take public comment on those amendments. It's a one page that was in the packet, 1 or 2 pages. The county commission will discuss it and vote on it. And then we will move to the phase where we have the first reading of the proposed changes to the ordinance. We will take public comment at that time. The county commission will discuss it again, and then we will close this hearing. There will be a second hearing in 2 weeks to take more public comment. So that is the general procedure tonight. The first thing I will do is to open the floor for comments on the amendments that were presented at the Planning Commission meeting. So if I go to the packet here, I will get a document number for you. And the document in our packet is titled Article 5 Schultz Amendment.
So we're having a hearing on what version we're going to go with first?
We will first discuss the amendments that were presented at the last Planning Commission meeting. So essentially, there was an elimination of section 506 and 516. Some language was eliminated. So that document, we will take public comment on first, and then the county commission will decide if we want to accept those amendments or reject them. Are you ready to time, Mr. Healy?
I am.
Okay. So at this time,
Which date do you have that on?
which date?
I'm looking for it on.
Oh, the planning commission, was it
Yes.
the 12th?
Okay,
Let me look. That would have been June.
Middle.
Planning commission was June 8th.
okay, thank you.
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. So at this time, would any citizen like to make a public comment on the Schultz amendments that were presented at the Planning Commission on June 8th? And again, I'll remind you, please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
So you might hear a timer. If not, I will alert you when 3 minutes is up.
All right, Chris Sparkle. I guess, on the planning commission, for anybody that doesn't know, I objected to the amendments. And I guess the biggest reason is everybody that is sitting on this board and most everyone that is sitting on the planning commission board talked about from the very outset that was going to be some kind of compromise document that we're going to come up with. And these amendments basically take out any kind of protection for agriculture and just increase the burden on agriculture, on any ag producers. There's no protections, we just get more burdens. And really, it's just a slap in the face right at the very last minute. You take out the only positive things for agriculture. So now, if you leave these amendments in there, basically we take the original zoning ordinance and increase setbacks, increase different performance standards for smaller producers, and make it more burdensome on small producers, and basically eliminate anything with liquid manure like a modern hog barn or a dairy or anything, because basically the setbacks are all doubled for that when you actually calculate it out, if anybody actually took the time to read the documents I provided at previous meetings. The only positive lights before these amendments were that any new residents coming into an ag zone district would have to acknowledge that there are animal operations around them. And basically, in a nutshell, without getting in the weeds, it would give preference to the producers that were there first. But now these amendments take that out and there's no protections for agriculture. It's just more restrictions, more cost, more burdens on everybody involved in agriculture. And that's not right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Other comments? Sir?
John Gunderson, Irene. Looking at the amendments and the changes in Article 5 in particular, the only thing that I can say as someone who has been involved in this process directly for the last 4 years and indirectly for the last 20 is thank you. With the actions of the Planning and Zoning Board, which are apparently going to be ratified, you have increased the value of my farm at least by a third, if not doubled it. There is no more profitable organization than a government-sponsored monopoly. And since there will not be animal ag in the county anymore on any economic scale, what my family and I have built gives us a competitive edge. And the only thing I can say is thank you. I know that it is repeated that ag has got to compromise because we are a minority. But that is also a reaction of the tyranny of the majority. Many of the things in this document have been addressed repeatedly by the courts. And I think back to the original zoning ordinance that my mother was involved in when she was a county commissioner, where we had some pretty strong ag protections. We had a rule that if you're going to have a house in the county, you're going to have 40 acres. Now we're down to either 5 or 2, depending on who you talk to. The setbacks are now 1.5 miles or greater. You only have 2 classes of livestock. Spot zoning has been an issue in Yankton County before. It is now again. The last time the Yankton County had spot zoning, the Supreme Court overturned it and threw it out. Now, I know that you guys have spent a lot of time in court the last few years. This document will ensure that you will continue to do so. Maybe you've come to enjoy depositions. I hope so, because this is basically going to provide employment for a lot of lawyers. I really think you need to stop, and I realize you got the votes. You guys were elected on a mandate. I remember your organization meeting, and you were going to have this done in March or April. And you're only 2 months and 2 years beyond that deadline that you set for yourselves. But what you've got here is a mess. And you're basically eliminating a whole class of agriculture in this county. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Other comments?
Zane Williams, Irene. I guess reading through these things, there's a few things that really bother me. This expansion of 25% is from what starting point? Are we going to have to report our livestock before these things go in?
and a one-time deal, who's gonna police this? It's ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Another thing that really bothers me is the non-family members transfer of ownership. So we've been in this county for 150 years, livestock production or raising feed for livestock. Now, my facility, being as I have no heirs that want to farm, I'm being subject to a fingerprint of this county saying anything forward, your business is going to have our approval. So you go to any business in downtown Yankton and you tell them, you got to have the city's approval to be able to transfer this to somebody else. I bought a dairy farm in 1983 off of bankruptcy from a financial institution, raised my kids there. I then sold it to a guy from Switzerland that raised milk and meat for another 20 years. This isn't going to happen from here on without your approval. Bad deal. Bad deal. Open for lawsuits all over. Another thing is the setbacks went from 1/4 to 1/2, and I agree with the 1/4 for the small nurseries, that kind of thing. And I really don't even disagree with the 1/2 mile setback if it wasn't limited to just a small amount of animals. Minnehaha County, I'm doing a business with a large dairy up there, 5,000 head dairy, 1/2 mile setback. Ocheyedan, Iowa, 9,000 cow dairy, 1/2 mile setback from everything. And ours is, I'm not exactly even sure what the animal unit is on a 1/2 mile. You guys know?
It's about 7,000, I think, per dairy.
No, on a 1/2 mile?
Oh,
No.
I thought you meant what a 5,000 head dairy would be
No,
for
yeah,
animal units.
it's several miles, but what is the limit on animals for a 1/2 mile? Can you guys know? Not doing math.
Depend on which version we end up going with, I think.
Well, that's the problem. Things are a little sketchy, even what we printed off of the website on the county thing. We noticed that a lot of things have been struck now since these new amendments came to the last planning and zoning meeting. They're not on the website. You got to dig into the commissioner's packet to see Ms. Schultz's amendments, that all these things got struck. They're not on the website.
They're in the commissioner packet, though, for the meeting, for the hearing.
Right, but when you say go to the website and print things off, it's not on there. You got to dig into the packets. So we printed off, we're going over all these things. We didn't know all those protections were struck till 10 minutes ago.
I'm not sure I'm following which protections were struck.
Well, the 1.5 mile, if somebody was going to build all of Christy Schultz's new amendments.
And they haven't been struck yet. That's what we're considering tonight.
Okay, but when we looked on the website, we didn't even realize that was an issue. You know, without going to every planning and zoning meeting anymore, we're not informed.
It was at our last county commission meeting packet as well.
There we go. Hang on, but how many animals would it be, Joe? Did you figure it out?
Well, I think we were at 3/8 a mile, right? For
At a 1/2 mile?
2,600 feet. Doesn't sound right, though.
You take your animal units,
Sure.
you took out that big chart, and I know we had controversy on that, well, you can figure it out. It isn't quite as easy to figure out as you think. That big chart really wasn't the worst thing to have in there for a quick look at. As you can see, it's quite not that easy on animal units for a 1/2 mile setback.
You want for 7,000?
Animal units in a 1/2 mile,
Oh,
He
animal
just
units-
wants animal units at a 1/2
In a
mile.
1/2 mile. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's 2640 divided by,
1333.
1,333 animal units
Mhm.
for a half mile,
for dry lot.
for a dry lot. Okay,
Yep. So 1,300 half mile.
okay, yep. And like I said, that isn't the worst. That is the worst. Some of these other things.
And it
eh,
is limited at 1.5 miles.
mhm.
Our current ordinance has a much greater
Right.
setback, up to 4 miles.
What
We're
else?
well over 3.
What, Joe?
We're well over 3 minutes just to.
Oh,
Yeah,
yep, all
sorry.
I
right,
know you were looking for some answers. but-
right. But I just, there's some things in here that especially about this non-family member, where you think you have to have that in there is way beyond me.
That's not to transfer your operation. That's the protections allowed when a new person moves in next to you.
Not, I guess I didn't read that. Explain that to me again?
You were there first until you sell that, then they were there first. Is how
Hmm.
that's interpreted.
So, because there was a grandfather clause in the old one, and that goes away then,
You're grandfathered.
Yeah, you're still grandfathered in.
until you sell it.
Right.
Mhm. I think it'll be hard to sell land with the livestock production on it if they're not sure they're gonna get the CUP from the county.
No.
It
We
has
would
nothing
never
to do
take the
with that.
CUP
Oh, you
from
wouldn't.
you.
He's there, you're grandfathered in for that. It's the new residents. You exist, I build a new house, you were there first, so you can expand indefinitely. I
Up to
can't
the state
prevent you
limits.
from expanding.
Right?
If you sell that to anybody,
Neighbor's son.
sure, then now I would be considered there first, and then if a setback issue came into play.
If he wanted to
the new- if he
double
wanted
in
to ex- If
size,
he wanted to expand.
that
then
house gets taken into the setback distance, whereas
as
before,
if it was there existing.
it wouldn't.
So
Easy to
ideally you
understand.
expand
Right.
and then
Easy.
sell.
Right.
Right.
That's
But that's, in today's ordinance, that's how it goes too. You don't have any protections. from
There's
the new
nothing there
house.
today for you.
So if I come build a house right next to you, you can't expand period ever, or the next person can. So right now, the proposal is to let the existing operator expand without being encumbered by new
By
residents.
somebody else. Let's see. Yeah. Well, it does make a
But you
little bit
can
of
still
sense.
sell it, and we have nothing to do with transferring that
Just like today.
ownership or use.
But so if they wanted to stay at the same numbers, they would not have a problem.
0.
Correct.
No,
Yeah. Okay. That makes it a little bit more clear in my
yep,
Norwegian brain.
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on the proposed Schultz amendments?
Ray up, Mission Hill, Century Farm. That's a 100-year farm. You need 80 acres to qualify it. The way this here looks to me is there ain't gonna be many Century Farms, because if I look at the farm I'm on right now, 100 years ago, the house is 100 years old, but the rest of the farm is all different. There's been a confined animal feeding operation where I'm at for 42 years. The only reason I'm the 4th generation is because it was added on to 23 years ago. That's how I got to be the 4th generation in the farm. Right now, my kids have moved away. The way this reads here, because you're gonna have to bring it a lot more clear. Some of it's clearing up here, but there's a lot of technical, the way it reads right now, my kids may not actually literally step foot on the farm. It might have to wait for my grandkids before they come, because my kids have different jobs. How is that gonna work? If people don't understand farming in 2021, how are they going to understand farming in 2035 when my grandkids might come back? My operation right now, in order to bring my son-in-law back, would have to expand. And what you've written here, where you've now separated solid manure from liquid manure, guess what? My son-in-law would have to go with liquid manure. That's what we're set up for. And you've got some pretty good obstacles sitting here because people don't understand. I find it amazing that I can go to Walmart or Menards and buy a bag of topsoil with manure in it without getting a permit. But when I'm a farmer and I take that manure out and put it in my ground, doing the same thing, mixing it up in soil, I have to get a permit to do this, to make my ground better. What did Mr. Trobeck said the other day? We're like 5 inches and 7,500ths behind in moisture this year. Yesterday was a brutal day. But driving around the fields where I've been putting that liquid manure out for the last 23 years and the ones before me for 20 years before that, there was better leaf color and foliage in those areas where that manure had been applied that was mixed into soil, just like you can buy at Menards, which is okay, was a healthier plant because I've been taking care of my soil for only 20 years and people had been doing that for 80 years prior to me. And now you want to cut us off from taking care of the land, providing safe, healthy protein for a growing public so that they can go sit at a camper beside a lake that's turning into a slough. If you don't want farming for 100 years in Yankton County, guess what's happening to your lake back there? It's turning into a slough. Think about some of this crap.
Thank you. Other comments?
Roy Johnson, Ballin. I guess my concern about the transition and your explanation, Joe, of if I build a house there and you sell out or die, whatever you do, then you're the first one there and everybody has to conform around you. I guess that tells me there's 2 people that are going to be farming in Yankton County. A Mennonite colony and somebody that farms 40,000 acres. Because the little guy can't come in because I'm not going to say you, I'm just going to say, pick somebody in the audience. They go out and they buy 2 acres and they're a quarter of a mile from your place because there's no setback for them. And you have a son that wants to farm or a daughter and they can't afford to buy $5 million worth of farm ground, but they can put up a $500,000 nursery and it will support them. Oh, wait a minute, that building quarter of a mile away, you're out of farming and you haven't started. And this increase in setbacks, now we've had hog buildings in the county, well, actually 4 or 5 years, but only with pigs in them for a while because of the lawsuits that everybody ended up paying for, and the people that filed the lawsuits lost every damn one. And I see this spot zoning, and a lot of it looks like spot zoning because I can't put liquid manure down from our buildings so close to the property line. So you've eliminated, I got to go to chemical fertilizer and I can put twice as much of that on and nobody cares. Or the city of Yankton can clean out their slough and use the same liquid applicators that were used on hauling my manure out, and they put it right next to town. And that's okay. Nobody says anything. It looks to me like the farmers are, I hear this, oh, it's a give and take. Well, it looks to me like the farmers are doing all the giving and the government is doing all the taking. And I don't understand why, in order to protect my rights, you have to take my rights away. And there's apparently some dissension amongst the board because Dan Clemish had a letter to the editor stating how bad special interests were. And then Cherry Loest had a letter saying, well, that's not really what it said. So does that mean different interpretations or not telling the truth? And I see this is this, especially the new amendments, is a heyday for the legal profession. There's lawsuits that could go on for this forever. Because most of the people that farm that want their children involved in the ag and their grandchildren, we've worked our butts off for a lot of years and we're willing to fight the fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up, Matt.
Matt Lingsted, Irene. I'm here to, for one, thank you for your time, and the most thankless job that's got to be in this county is what you guys are doing. Thank you. But I really sit here and just spin my wheels thinking you guys are making this more complicated than it has to be. 506 needs to get put back in to give us a chance, us farmers, because that's what I do. And 516 obviously needs to get put in there too, please. The reason is 5 miles from my house, I drew a circle and there's numerous acreages. If you were to go and look at those acreages, they've changed hands. I think of those, there was like 7 of them that have changed hands in the last 5 years. Those people raise a stink, they get up and they leave. But they make my life a living hell trying to get everybody to conform to their little perfect world. Everybody has rights, and I believe they should have rights. But us farmers need more rights. We've been there for 100 years, 120 years. These people are here every 3, 4, 5 years, and they're up and gone. Give us a chance. Put your faith in the farmer that we're doing what's right, not the acreage guy that's chirping in your ear, writing letters to the editor, throwing all the farmers under the bus. All you special interest group people that I don't know what we ever did to you, but please stand up for the farmers. You have the chance to do it because we are becoming the laughing stock of the Midwest, knowing if you are from Yankton County. I was at a very large event 2 weeks ago, Minnesota, Iowa, South Dakota, Nebraska people there. We were talking what we did, where we're from, and everybody laughed that said, you're from Yankton County. How do you deal with what's going on? Don't follow suit. Please change our perception to the world. Stand up for us farmers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other comments?
Josh Johnson, Ballin. I live in the ag zone district. Obviously, you guys all know me. But any ag zoning should be protecting ag, not people that want to move into the ag areas. That's why there's zoning for low density, high density housing. That's to protect them. You guys got to quit hammering us. Just leave us alone. Let's do our job. The things we love to do, we've done forever. That's all I have.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, I will close public comment. One more.
Hi, I'm Christy Schultz. I have served on the Planning Commission for going on 16 years off and on now. We have been working on this ag ordinance for a very long time. It's a very difficult thing for a lot of people because a lot of people live in ag and not everyone that lives in ag is a farmer. I grew up on a farm. My home is on the farm I grew up on. I bought the pasture ground. My brother farms the production ground. And I love this place. This place is a part of me. My family has been living and working in Yankton County for 8 generations now. And we love it here and we want to protect it for future generations. My son wants to come back to our place. I plan to give him part of the home place. he has a right to do that, even though he's not involved in farming. Special permitted uses, you talk about rights, it strips away our civil rights that are guaranteed to us by the Constitution, the right to due process, the right to know what is going to happen to the ground or the place next to you. You have a right to know if there's going to be a CAFO moving in next to you before the thing is already built and your rights to due process have been taken away because no one even notified you that it was going to happen. If someone builds a house, it does not contaminate the air or the water for miles around. I drink well water. So if a CAFO inadvertently, I'm not saying that anyone would do it deliberately, inadvertently contaminates that aquifer, I have nothing to drink. And I have nothing to feed my animals or give my animals to drink because I can't afford to buy bottled water for livestock. So these protections are for everyone. And this is not an overly restrictive ordinance. The setbacks that they've got from other counties. The ones that you're complaining about were written and are in place and working in other counties. And it is not going to destroy agriculture in Yankton County. Agriculture will go on, but we want it to go on in a safe and responsible manner. That is all we're asking. We are not trying to drive everybody out of business. That is not our goal. We should be able to live together in this county, in a rural area, in harmony. We should be able to get along with each other. And as far as litigation, the right to farm bill, that has already been struck down in the Supreme Court. So if you initiate that right to farm clause in our ordinance, it will absolutely spur litigation. It is going to make it worse, not better. You need to have input from everyone and the chance for everybody to speak. For heaven's sake, if a cell tower comes in, the people that are going to be affected by that, the neighbors, they have a right to come in and talk about it. They have a right to ask for considerations. They have a right to be heard. The special permitted uses takes that away. It takes away our civil right. It takes away our right to be heard in a public forum. And that is not right. And it is not fair. And it is not the way Yankton County has been doing business for the last forever in Yankton County. Thank you.
All right, public comment is, all right, come on up.
I find it, Sandy Williams, I live in Yankton County.
Thank you.
I find it interesting that we're talking about an agriculture district that's been defined as an agriculture district. And yet we have people like my predecessor up here talking about the need for equal rights. When you move into an agriculture district, you should expect agriculture and everything that goes with it to occur. If you want to live in a city environment, move into the city. That's where you should stay, in an area that is set aside for residential, not agriculture activities. That's point number one. Number two, let's talk a little bit about the right to farm being struck down by the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's true or not, but Ms. Schultz also told us that the state DNR did not allow drag lines in the ditches. As a matter of fact, that's what they require. And she did not make an adjustment to her statement at any of the planning and zoning meetings, even after it was brought to her attention. So I have to question the comment that the state Supreme Court or the Supreme Court, I don't know if it was the state or the national, struck down right to farm. But as we go forward with this, I think that we have to bear in mind, the very first definition is about agriculture. And it's about protecting land for agriculture. It's not about protecting residents where they should be. In the residential areas, I am all for that. But I am not for this body or any other body taking away the right of farmers to do their work on their land.
Thank you. Come on up.
Chris Warple again. I just want to address some of the things that Christy said. First of all, with not having any notice that a CAFO is coming into your area is a flat out lie. Christy, you're lying about that because it does not say that. And as somebody on the planning
Madam Chair, we're
commission
not
with
supposed to allow
myself,
personal attacks, are we?
Dan, you're part of it too because you wrote an article to
Are we
this effect.
Sir.
allowing this?
Focus this direction.
All right.
Keep it general.
Anyways, so that is a lie. You will not have a CAFO moving into your area without notice. And when you're talking about due process rights being violated, you're basically insinuating that anybody that builds out in an ag zone district gets to control everything that they see around them for as far as they can see. And that the farmer or anybody that happens to be there, you have no due process rights. Me as the homeowner, I have the due process rights of I should be notified whenever you do anything, whenever you haul your manure, whenever you want to build some new facility, whenever you want to add a few head to into your pen, that I should be notified and that I should have control over what you do. And as far as how the ag producers affect the environment, we're not going to purposely go out there and destroy the environment. We live and work in this every single day. It's not economical, it's not feasible. We'd all be out of business if we went out there and polluted and had dead animals all over the place. We don't need all this restrictions. We do this on our own. As far as being notified about, if you want to be notified about everything the ag producer does, it's only right then that the ag producer gets notified and that there's some requirements on any new residences moving into the neighborhood. And the new residences want to claim that, oh, you might pollute my water, I might smell your odor, I might see the dust and have that around my house. But they don't consider the fact that you are making a very large economic impact on every farmer that is near you, because now we can't expand the way we want to. We can't run our operations the way we want to because of this zoning ordinance you got wrote right here. It makes it more burdensome and more costly on us. And it's not violating anybody's due process rights when we want to operate our land as we have for hundreds of years.
Thank you. So at this time, one final call for comments. Public comment is closed.
This is a copy of the Supreme Court ruling.
Public comment is closed.
What's the citation?
It is Jeffrey K. Powers and Vicki Irving Riesenover versus Turner County Board of Adjustment and Craig Schlegelmilch and Ethan Schlegelmilch in the Supreme Court of the State of South Dakota.
I can send it to you, Wanda, if you want it. I've got it.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah. All right, so public comment is closed. We bring it back to the commission for discussion on the document that at the top says eliminate section 506, and it has some stricken language, and then section 516, some stricken language.
Madam Chair, I'd like to open with a general comment. For the last at least a year, and probably for much longer than that, we've been discussing this Article 5 issue. In January, we started again to discuss it very seriously. We've held many meetings. We've invited the public to attend the meetings. We had a joint planning and zoning meeting with the county commission meeting to discuss differences there. We came to a conclusion on something that everyone, well, not everyone, but the majority felt was workable and good for the county. And because one person has decided that it's going to still fight this, I think it takes the work of all the committee work that's been done, and I'm in support of the original submission. The original Article 5 that we sent back.
Okay, so you're, just so I'm clear, because there's 4 on my iPad. We have the final version, we have Sherry's proposal, we have Christy Schultz's proposal, and then the proposal with the red lines. You're talking final version, correct?
So in this packet, there are 3 documents. So the red line version shows you the changes that are being made to the ordinance.
So
Everything
original
in red,
Original ordinance as it reads today.
as it reads
with
today,
changes.
and everything in red is either new language or stricken. The next one down says final version.
Yep.
That's what it would look like if all of those red changes were
Okay.
adopted. So
Okay,
that's what it would look like.
I think we're talking the same thing.
So the Schultz amendment is what was presented at the Planning Commission meeting that was requested to change about that red line version.
Okay.
So there are 3 documents in this packet. So right now, we're focusing on the Schultz amendment document. Do we want to accept those changes or reject them? Other comments?
I'd make a motion that we reject the Schultz changes.
I second.
So I have a motion by Kettering, a second by Fox to reject the Schultz amendments that were presented at the last Planning Commission meeting. Further discussion.
I'm gonna just real quick, maybe paraphrase some of this, but read through section 1719, kind of where we started. County Commission amendment and rezoning duties. The County Commission may amend, supplement, change, modify, or repeal any regulation, restriction, boundary, or enforcement provision established in the zoning ordinance or zoning map. This might help make sense of this whole circus that we're in. The County Commission shall forward a copy of the proposed changes to the Planning Commission for public review and comment pursuant to section 1809. Upon receipt of the comments from the Planning Commission, the County Commission shall provide a notice of public hearing pursuant to section 2003. That's what we're doing tonight. The County Commission shall thereafter either adopt or reject such amendment, supplement, change, modification, or repeal. If adopted, the County Commission shall publish a notice of fact of adoption once in a legal newspaper of the county and take effect on the 20th day after its publication. So we came up with ours, sent it back. We're now either going to accept or reject that review of ours.
And I believe Mr. Kettering made a motion to reject it.
He did.
And there was a second.
Yep. Other comments?
Well, the fact that our planning commission made these recommendations and it passed by a majority, it should concern us because they obviously have concerns with this document. So if we're going to overturn the planning commission, I guess that's what we're going to do. But, you know, another board is saying to us that this is not, they're not recommending it. It needs some more work. So.
Joe, did you have any comments you want to make?
Is that a no?
That's a no.
So no. Wanda, any comments?
Nothing further.
Okay, so this has been, as Don stated, this has been going on for quite some time. Our community has went round and round about what does or doesn't need to be changed in our community. There was a comment made that these changes are just going to get us in lawsuits. Well, we've got a whole list of lawsuits from the current ordinance we have. So just because you have rules in place, good or bad, does not in itself prevent lawsuits. What prevents lawsuits is we can get along. And until our community can get to that point, nothing either side does is going to prevent those lawsuits. Our job as county commissioners is to follow the ordinance that we have in place. And if we feel changes to the ordinance would make our community better, it's our responsibility to do those changes. And we took that task on. And thank you to the citizen who said, I don't envy your position, because it is a tough position to be in. It's tough to be on the planning commission and take comment as well. But after the last 5-6 years, and even if you look back to when the zoning was put into place, shortly thereafter, there was controversy, then we had controversy, and now, in my opinion, the can has been kicked down the road, and we are choosing to try to deal with it. So starting this process, in my opinion, I try to remain as independent as possible. And so if I give on something on one side, you have to give on something on the other, because at the end of the day, I feel my job is to balance this scale. Because we seem to go hard left and hard right, and it's really easy to do that. And our federal government has set a great example for how to get that done. And I'm eternally disappointed every time I watch the national news. And I'd like that to not be our local politics. I would like us to try to put ourselves in everybody else's shoes and read the document as a whole, all of the changes that are being proposed, and to see how it truly affects the other person. And then how does it affect you? So these amendments that were proposed at the last Planning Commission meeting, my scale turfed, because so many of those things were implemented to counterbalance other things. And one of the big one is the doubling of setbacks on liquid manure. The solid manure, your setbacks did not change that much. But when you look at the liquid manure, they are essentially doubling. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So we had to give something. And at the end of the day, and my husband is my rock at home, and we went over and over this, and he said, Sherry, do you think it's even in the end? And I said, I think it's as even as we're going to get right now. But again, it really goes down to, you need to read that red line version to truly understand what's being changed and what is not being changed, because some things stated tonight, we are not changing. It's still 20 acres. It was never 40 acres. We are not going to 2 acres for a residence. It's remaining at 20 acres. And that was misstated.
I think some of the
The setback.
Now they're capped at 1.5 miles.
They are capped at 1.5 miles. If you look at our current ordinance, it's 2 miles out in the ag zone, and it's 4 miles if you're within the protected zone here west of the city. So that was changed. So the 25% expansion, right now, you can expand by 300 animal units. Who polices it right now? Nobody. So the comment made that you need to trust us because we're responsible, that's trust. So the 25% is actually better for many operators. We addressed the transfer of ownership for non-family members. If you hold a CUP today and you sell your operation, it's a good CUP. No one's taken that CUP from the new operator. I don't care if they're from China. Liquid manure application restrictions. it was alluded that those are changing. We didn't change any of them. They're the same as the current document. So again, read there, because there is manure application setbacks from right-of-ways, from fence lines, from waterways, it said wellheads. They're in our current ordinance. We didn't change them. So when someone tells you something's being changed, please go to the document and read the red language to see what's actually being changed, because there's a lot of misinformation being spread around our community. And in the end, you do need to understand what's truly being changed in order to make your final opinion. And that's what I ask. So there being no other comments from the commissioners, I'm going to call a vote.
Just one quick one on that. Some of the things that we've heard that are mistruths or not, misunderstandings, I guess would be a better way of putting it. Back to the liability and legal liability and litigation, that was first and foremost in my mind when coming up with what we see today or adding to it. Like you said, the manure management is in our current ordinance, and quite frankly, it's difficult to follow what the requirements are today. And a lot of the requirements didn't change. They just simply got put into one section in a list. Everybody adheres to them. And that to me is an attempt at minimizing any litigation, because if you can add clarity, you can reduce litigation.
So we have a motion on the table to not accept the Schultz amendments. And essentially the motion is to reject the amendments. Roll call vote.
Don,
Yes, to reject.
Wanda,
Reject.
Dan,
No.
Joe,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes, so we have voted 4-1 to reject the amendments. So at this time, the red line version that is in our packet are the changes being proposed to our ordinance. We will open this up for a second set of public comment. So at this time, would anyone care to make additional public comments?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Todd Woods. I live here in Yankton, or just outside of Yankton. I want to say I was confused as to Commissioner Fox and all the different changes. I didn't know about the amendment. I went to the website tonight and I saw or this afternoon, and there's a website dedicated to Article 5, and I printed off, I thought, the latest version. So I was too confused and wondered who else may have been confused on that. But I guess my only question is with the proposed changes. District 3 has the ability to take the restrictions we have in every county. Has District 3 been consulted with to see if with these proposed amendments or this proposed new zoning, would there be facilities be able to be built in Yankton County?
Todd, when we initially started this process, we were talking about the comprehensive plan and Article 5 specifically. And we talked with District 3 on both of those issues.
Because when you and I were just started down, we did that the State Department of Ag funded that ag survey where they took our zoning, mapped out all the residents, all our zoning, and put it into a map and showed where there could be and there could not be facilities or any type of facilities. Just curious if this zoning has been, this proposed zoning has been taken to District 3 to have them at least map it out to see if there's opportunities for livestock in Yankton County. And if there's not, then to me, then the zoning actually abolishes new livestock operations going forward.
We did that quarter, half, and 1 mile setbacks, I believe, and maybe even 3 and 4 mile, I think, to show differences. But yeah, that District 3 made those maps for our review.
Okay. I guess that's my biggest question, is because District 3 is a great resource, utilize what the potential zoning is out there to see other types of operations growing, because agriculture is the number one industry, not only in the state, but here in Yankton County. So we need to continue to find ways to find that common ground. So, thank you.
Other comments at this time? Come on up, sir.
Good evening, folks. My name is Richard Vascard. I'm from Turner County, and I've been part of the Turner County Planning and Zoning, so I know what this process is all about. I would just like to clarify a couple things, if I may. I also am a legislator and peer, but a comment was made about CAFOs contaminating our water. A number of years ago, when I was part of the local Cattlemen's Association, there was an issue up north where a lake was contaminated with E. coli. And of course, they blamed the large feedlot that was up the drainage creek further up north. Well, then took water samples and they discovered it was geese poop, horse poop, and leaking septic systems. It was not agriculture, but for some reason, we in agriculture seem to be the kicking bag when it comes to contamination of water supply, and it's not necessarily the case. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is that your zoning ordinances are not like other counties. They're not like Minnehaha. They're not like Turner County. And I see this as a bit of a discrimination case because your producers down here are at a disadvantage to me in Turner County. I can do things you can't. Is that fair to them? Agriculture is a very competitive business, and we have to be on a level playing field. Take, for example, our interstate commerce laws. Why are they there? They're to provide a level playing field for all states, so one does not take advantage of the other. Should this not be the case with our counties? As a legislature, that's something I'm looking forward. I'm all for local control and for you guys to have a say in it. But if we're going to discriminate and put your producers at an unfair advantage, I'm going to be looking for ways to bring the state in on this and try to give everybody on the same playing field. One thing I like about your comments here, and I'm going to read it. The intent of an agriculture district is to protect agriculture lands and lands consisting of the natural growth from incompatible land uses in order to preserve the land best suited for agricultural uses and land in which the natural environment should be continued, etc. In the United States, we lose 2.2 million acres of land to urban sprawl every year. We're not making more land. It's gone. So as we put restrictions on our agriculture producers, I would ask you, are you restricting people who want acreages? Are you restricting Yankton County from expanding into agricultural land? This is a two-way street. It can't go one direction. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Other comments?
Sandy Williams. I'm working off of a copy that is on the Planning and Zoning website that says final draft. Because that's where most people would look to find that, not buried in the commissioner's packet, 5, 8, 10 clicks down. But right there, planning and zoning, the zoning ordinance is right there. 3 commissioners were very particular about our past zoning practices. And I would hope that they would hold the new zoning staff as accountable. So I have questions that I've jotted down as I've gone through this. So under farm buildings, the language removed, all buildings, or the new draft, all buildings and structures needed in agricultural operation, including dwellings for owners, operators, farm laborers employed on the farm, and other family members. That was struck. Going further, it is also struck that the current language changed. The area shall not be less than 20 acres of unplatted land or is a part of a contiguous ownership of not less than 80 acres of unplatted land, which is used for growing usual farm, blah, blah, blah. Why was that taken out?
What's the definition?
That's in the definitions,
What
yes.
is it? What word or what is the word you're defining?
Farm, ranch, and orchard. And the first one was farm buildings. And
Farm
so
buildings is not taken out. What was stricken was
what was stricken is what I read.
all buildings and structures needed in agricultural operation, period, is what the proposal is.
Owners, operators, farm laborers employed on the farm, and other family members. Then we have the orchard clause. Then there's a definition of start of construction, which appears to be in response to some activities that
That's
wanted
the
to.
state passed legislation defining that, so we incorporated that,
Okay, so this is
the state's definition.
state definition. Okay, thank you. Concentrated number 6 in section 506. Now, is that struck, or is that still there, or is that changed? Is that moved? Concentrated animal feeding operations existing are allowed a one-time expansion of 25% over current operation size. So that means that if I'm a producer and I have hypothetically 1,000 head, I can expand by 250?
Yes.
Okay. If I'm an operator, a young guy starting out with 200 head, I get a one-time expansion of 50? How is that
Expand
fair?
as much as you want.
Pardon?
It's- You can expand as many times as you want. Nobody's saying you can't expand.
You're
You don't have to come
grandfathered in,
for-
but you have to come in for a CUP if you want to expand 20, say you're starting out 200 head and you want to expand, so you get a chance to expand to 50 as a one-time freebie,
If you're just
grandfathered
starting
in
off, this doesn't apply to you anyway.
for 200 head?
If you're just starting off, you are not an existing operation, so this doesn't even apply to you.
Well, maybe it's a young guy who started about 4 years ago.
Okay, then he'd get a
So then he would be
25%
grandfathered
expansion.
in, would he not?
Yes.
Yes.
he'd get a
So he can
25%
expand one
expansion.
time 50 animals.
Yes.
Okay. And then every time he wants to expand by another 25%, he's got to get a CUP to expand by, what would that be then? The next step, maybe 75, if he wanted to increase his herd by 75. So maybe he wants to keep all of the calves that he got off of his cows.
We wouldn't
Then
have
what?
to do anything until 500 head. It's all right in here.
So dry lots go up to 499 head. You don't need a CUP.
Okay, but over.
You have a setback and a manure management plan is all. That has to be approved by the zoning office.
Okay, but you see what I'm getting at is that a large producer is going to be able to expand exponentially. And this, you say you're for small farmers, that does not look to me like it favors small farmers. It favors the large farmers. So it's not equitable. It's not fair. One of the questions that I also have is, there was an item that was struck under conditional uses, 507. Individual septic sewage treatment facilities pursuant to 501. And then later on, municipalities. So in the ordinance that I had available to me off the planning and zoning website, I can, if I'm a city, I don't have the same limitations that an animal producer would have, or a municipality, in terms of where that black sludge goes. It's not clear in here. It's not clear at all. And so I can tell you even though people are concerned about hog buildings overflowing, the confinement overflowing, that hasn't happened in Yankton County. But the year of the flood, Mission Hill did overflow. People lost their lawns, their gardens, their food plots. And there were acreage, farm acres taken out of production because it was so toxic. We don't know what goes into that municipality, and yet the way this is written, it's really not very clear what happens.
We don't, it's not in our current ordinance.
Well, why shouldn't it be in this one? If you're going to restrict livestock to that extent, why are you not looking at other sectors of the ag district? Because what I see is this is singling out livestock. One portion of the agricultural district is being singled out in here, livestock producers. It's not balanced. It's not that give and take that you were talking about.
Municipalities are overseen by the state.
And they are allowed to spread manure in.
According to state regulations.
And what about septic systems? When those are pumped, where does that go?
It is to be applied by an approved applicator.
Okay. And so what happens when it overflows?
State regulations, and they have emergency reporting and such.
Okay. So then under section 515, there shall be a front yard, and this is minimum yard requirements in an ag district. It was 75 feet. Now you've reduced it to 50 feet. So if we're already talking about too much manure being spread too close and irritating neighbors, non-farm neighbors, why did you reduce?
Because
the
many
distance?
of the requests for variances were from farmers who wanted to put ag structures closer to that
But you
fence
just
line.
gave it a wide open for everybody.
Because we can't treat you differently.
So I don't know. I look at this and it seems like there's a lot of restrictions placed on agriculture, specifically livestock agriculture in an agricultural district, which your article leads off saying, the intent of an agricultural district is to protect agricultural lands and lands consisting of natural growth from incompatible uses, land uses, in order to preserve land best suited to agricultural uses and land in which the natural environment should be continued, and to limit residential, commercial, and industrial development to those areas where they are best suited for reasons of practicality and service delivery. And yet, as Chris stated, ag is expected to give up for non-ag uses, and that is wrong.
Thank you. Other comments at this time?
Ray up. I'm a broken record. Here it comes again. I'm going to rebound off of what Mr. Vasgard said. The nation does not regulate out of Yankton County. So why does Yankton County want to regulate my future? In a real world, there's industry standards. In 1979, when the first confined animal feeding operation on the homestead I'm residing on was a 300 head. That was the industry standard. Had 10 pens in there, batch farrowing, so many pigs came out, they filled pens. In 1998, when I came back to the farm and inconvenienced this county by putting millions of dollars back into the coffers, we put up a 1,200 head barn because industry standard was, this is industry, this isn't Yankton County standards because there weren't many freaking pigs left in Yankton County. But industry standard called for a 1,200 head facility, so we added a 900 head. 2017, when the war started here in Yankton County, because these blasted confinements are 2,500 head deliberately because of our zoning. Hogwash and poppycock. Industry standard, you go anywhere around, that's what the size of the units, it has nothing to do with zoning. Now you're limiting us again to, you can only expand 300 head. Well, okay, I'm gonna have a freaking hard time going out trying to find a small farmer who's gonna be able to provide me now with, if I go 300 animal use, what that's, I'm looking at 2,000 head now. We go for, the public demands that we provide them with a consistent product. So I'm supposed to go out to 7 different people and put mixed batch, more diseases into my facility to provide safe food for you when I'm providing the nation with the safest, healthiest, most productive food there is now, and you want to limit me that so that I can come to town and work in a factory and try and supplement my farm. I'm damn proud that I have no income other than my farm. I would like you guys to find 5 people that you know whose sole income is farming. Can you name 5 people whose sole income is farming? But yet you're going to restrict it so that there cannot be more to come? Hogwash.
Other comments?
Boy Johnson, and I have to agree with Mr. Epp on the fact that the size of the building is determined by what the industry wants. They don't want to have 7 guys raising 300 pigs. They just soon have 2,400 in a building because it works out for their lineup because it is all orchestrated from breeding through slaughter. And your comment earlier about the lawsuits and the fact that zoning really hasn't stopped any lawsuits, had the zoning laws been followed, there would not have been the lawsuits. The lawsuits appeared when, well, we'll take this, we can sue because we can. It seems funny. Now, was the Cameron Colony Nursery the only hog building that went up that didn't have a lawsuit against it? The rest of them did. I think that's odd. And I mean, it goes back to my favorite one. Oh, have not started construction. You've had pigs in the building for a week, but there's no construction been started. How'd the county come out on that?
Other comments?
Matt Langston again from Irene. I guess I'd just sit here and ask that you take in consideration your 25% increase is a odd, strange number. And I know those guys just talked about it. I've got 2 kids. Actually, I got 4 kids, 2 boys. I have no idea if anybody's come back to farm. My dad had 60 sows or 40 sows in 1972. That's long gone. I've got 200 cows now. I'm guessing that's going to probably be 400 in 10 years. That might be 300. It might be 500. It might be none at the rate we're going with this county. I'm not going to lie. You're making people not want to do what I do. We have no idea where we're going to be at in 2040. How many animals? I mean, if I could draw a circle around my place, there's going to probably be 3 farmers left, 5 at most. But yet I can't expand my livestock, but yet you all need to eat. You're all complaining with a mouthful of food, wanting us to do what you think is best, but it is not best for the world. We talked about Yankton County being the laughing stock of the Midwest. Adopting this, putting more restrictions on us, I believe is just another chink in the less chink in armor for us. You guys are making our livelihood so damn difficult. We've got guys that don't want to fight anymore. with you guys. They just want to quit because they're so sick of the county they live in. I said it before I was up here, please stand up for the farmer, give him the right to farm, but don't come down on us like we are the world's worst people. Please stand up for us. Thank you.
Can you ask something, Matt?
Yeah.
Regarding like expansion, with what's proposed versus today, what do you see as being the difference?
Well,
What do you see as being the issue, I guess?
I'm not even going to tell you how many cattle I have because probably somebody would turn me in that's in this room. And that's funny that people are
Just
laughing
pick a
at.
number.
But if I had 400 head right now, so what is my 25%? You're a pretty smart guy. I know you can do that in your head.
I don't know if I can handle that.
So then I'm done. But I've got 2 boys that want to come back and farm. Well, boys, and in 2023, I expanded my 25%. Guys, we can't do any more.
So I just think maybe there needs clarification. The 25%, the one time, doesn't mean you're done expanding. So what it is today it reads you can expand by 300 animal units as long as you don't jump classes without coming, if you're existing operation without coming forward to renew your permit, let's say. Okay. So that's essentially what remains. It just went from 300 head because we recognize that there was a gross difference between someone who had 300 head and 1,000 head. So you can come in, you could expand until your heart's content. It's just at a certain point you have to actually get it.
And that's at 1,000. That's at 1,000 animal units.
Well, what's being proposed is at 500. Today, it's 1.
I still feel like I'm being coupled as a producer. If I'm at 400 now, can I go to 999 and nobody says anything?
Today?
Yeah.
No.
How about tomorrow if you adopt this?
No.
But
that's what I'm asking. Are we really making it more restrictive?
I think when there's
with
more
the
restrictions
proposal?
on the producer, it's just more hurdles to jump through. Maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I just feel like if we were just to leave everything alone, we're kicking these damn cans around in circles because nobody's happy with what we're doing. But if we just left it the way it was from 2-3 years ago,
So at 1 animal unit, you need a CUP.
was it ever enforced?
Yes.
It was, yes.
Who was that person that got in trouble? If they didn't have a CUP for their 1 animal.
What I think there was a horse stable that got a CUP for it. What I believe happened is the majority of producers such as yourself wouldn't be considered a CAFO. Your cow calf operation, they're out in pasture.
Yes.
You're not a CAFO.
You're not confinement. And so how many true confinements have began in Yankton County since the adoption of this ordinance?
Well, there probably won't be any more after this, the way it looks, because that setback deal is going to take, I don't mean if we
But
talk
I
about
think
District 3.
I think that's why it hasn't been enforced or hasn't come, because nobody's come forward and said, I'm going to put up a 500 head dry beef feedlot. Anybody that exists was existing when that went into play. That's why my take on it.
I understand that. Okay, there's one other thing that I want to talk about, and some have already talked about it. The livestock man is there's not one finger on him, there's 10 right now. And I'm not picking on you. You're a neighbor of ours. You've got a bin site that's got 200,000 bushel of storage, roughly. It's approximate. You have 400 trucks in and out of that thing every year. Why are those facilities not being watched like the livestock man? Is there any answer to that? And I don't think you should be, but I also feel like I shouldn't be. Just because my animals take a crap and your bins don't mean that you're still contributing to a problem, and that is our infrastructure that Dan would know a lot more about, I guess, on Walshtown Road. But I feel like if we're going to start, talking about livestock producers, why are we talking about these big grain facilities or other businesses? And like I said, I don't think we want to go down that road. But as a livestock producer, that's my main income. I don't tear up the roads at all. I know who tears up the roads. It's trucks. And I have no problem with it. They're part of agriculture. But maybe that needs to be looked at another time, or maybe right now. Do you guys disagree?
We've had that discussion on when do grain facilities become too big where you have to look at haul routes and things of that nature. As it sits today, when you're commercial, right?
And I don't know. I guess I want to thank you for your time. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
Jay Cutts, Mission Hill, South Dakota. I've been in this industry for probably 50 years doing various things from pitching oat bundles to feeding livestock for my whole life. I started farming in the 80s. Don knows how much fun that was, paying $10 an acre rent. And the big thing that they were trying to push at that time was value-added agriculture. Value-added agriculture. Do something to add something to that price of that corn or that soybeans or alfalfa or what you're doing. Don't just sell it as a commodity. Well, a lot of that value-added agriculture nowadays is animal livestock. Of course, we build ethanol plants and other various things, but all those byproducts from those ethanol plants also have to be used. And livestock agriculture is a very value-added product to our system. Now, we also have to be economical. A 500 head feedlot is not economical. Even a 2,500 head feedlot is not economical. To hire people nowadays, everybody in business knows what that's like. It's very difficult to find somebody to work 24/7 like they used to. For some reason or other, all these young kids want a couple weeks vacation or something else to do on the weekend. They don't want to keep going and doing everything all the time and every day. So you've got to have enough people to make it variable for your employees or your family members for that matter. And that takes numbers. What you guys are proposing here, the setbacks, the increase in the setbacks, and yeah, you're increasing the setbacks. They pretty much take economical value-added agriculture out of Yankton County. We all know that. That's why most of those rules and regulations are written. Now, if I put up a feedlot, a swine building, I've got to have a 660-foot setback from another property line or a 330-foot setback from a right-of-way line. Why doesn't a new residence have to have the same setbacks? I mean, it's perception. Or I have to put a shelter belt around my hog barn for some reason or other. Even if the wind does what they say the shelter belt's supposed to do. If you put the building in the right place, the wind moves the odors around. And you can't tell me that a hog barn smells worse than a cattle feedlot. Because a cattle feedlot, depending on what you're feeding, smells just like a hog barn. Now, it's out in the open and it gets aerated a lot more, of course, but they both smell the same. Now, if you want to shut down animal agriculture in Yankton County, I guess that's where you guys want to go. But like I said, I've been doing this for 50 years. In 20 years, I think I know where agriculture is going to be. And it's going to be 10 to 15,000 acre farms. Plain and simple. Especially if we don't have animal agriculture in our farms. And more than likely, it's going to be a lot more automated. We might not have to have all the people out there running the equipment. That's just where I see it going in my lifetime and what I've seen of my lifetime. That's where it's going. So if you want to get rid of animal agriculture, go ahead and pass these rules and keep putting the same people on your planning and zoning board that you have been putting on there. And Sherry, you talked about trying to get along. Now, if you're gonna keep putting those kind of people on your planning and zoning board, guess what? Animal agriculture and agriculture is not gonna win. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Last call. Public comment is closed. Any final comments by the commission on the first hearing of the amendments? All right, we will close the first hearing for the amendments for Article 5 and definitions at this time. Thank you, everyone, for coming. All right, where's my agenda? We are at item 11, approve request to advertise for new attorney. Go ahead.
Given COVID and the courts being closed for the bulk of 2020, plus the addition of poor relief and JDAI, the state's attorney's office contemplated hiring another attorney. We are currently not at the same level as Clay, Davison, Brookings, some others. They have more full-time than we do. And so with the treasurer, the Treasury Department's ability to use funds for the next 3.5 years to hire attorneys to deal with the court's backlog, our office decided to make that request. Timing wise, it's just one of those things where since those funds are already available and we can get that funding, we would request that you authorize us to advertise for another attorney. And our plan would be obviously to utilize that attorney for help with JDAI, poor relief, and then obviously everything that we currently do, which is felonies, magistrates, juvenile, and assist the county commission. So that would be our request. It would be whatever it is on the matrix, step 0. We don't know who's out there, but we would assume it would probably be someone with not a ton of experience, but you never know. And so we would like the ability to advertise and do that quickly to hopefully bring someone on within the next, probably with like an August start date.
Any questions? I know we hinted at on this already at our previous meetings that this is something we need to do. We have the funds available through ARPA to cover it.
There's a shortage of attorneys. I understand that we've been dropping a lot of cases. Is that accurate?
No.
I wouldn't say dropping. I think there's a misunderstanding when things are published in the paper. The dismissals are probably from 2012 or prior to that. There are cases that sit out there, whether they're bad checks or some type of misdemeanor cases. And then if the person is never found or served, then we're asked by the state to go ahead and file dismissals in those. Our biggest difficulty is just the number of cases that remain pending. The court didn't have any trials basically in 2020. I know Ms. Howie Fox asked, we've actually had one jury trial. We've had several court trials. We have not, we had actually the first jury trial, I think, in any of the surrounding counties. They kind of experimented with us. And there's several fairly big trials scheduled for the next 3 to 4 months, which takes up one attorney for basically that time period.
In fairness, though, aren't the big trials that are upcoming not involving the state's attorney's office?
That is not correct. One of the big ones not coming up does not. We are not involved in that one at all. The other ones we are.
And wouldn't it also be accurate that some of the dismissals that are reflected in the newspaper, which is where the lay people get their information, are in exchange for pleas of guilty? If you'll plead to count 1, you'll dismiss count 2.
Yes,
If you'll plead to count 1 and 3, you'll dismiss count 2 and 4.
correct.
So in fairness, the state sometimes charges things that may or may not be convictable, if that's the right word, in exchange for having something to throw away to get a defendant to plead guilty.
Currently, tickets are being filed for the most part, which means they're being charged from the time of arrest.
And currently, back in the day when I was a deputy state's attorney, all files were started with tickets. And it became, thank you, Bob Chavis, became something that had to go to the state's attorney's office before it became an actual case.
Yeah. And with COVID, there were a lot of changes.
And with COVID, the jail was shut down and not taking any people.
Correct.
24/7 was shut down, not taking any 24/7 activities. No blow twice a day, no scram bracelets.
Correct. No hope court, none of that.
Yes.
Correct.
And when there was magistrate court, judge would require the deputy to let X number of people into the room at a time, everybody wear masks, sitting 6 feet apart.
Correct. Which really limited how many cases you could schedule. So we're trying to get caught back up again.
And realistically, if the juvenile cases that went to the Boys and Girls Club under that grant had gone first, if that money had come to the state's attorney's office, because right now, as I understand it, your office has to review the juvenile things before they get to the Boys and Girls Club.
Correct.
And then it comes back again, which seems to me to be double work
Correct.
for little reward.
Yeah. Well, our plan is, we're going to do that, and we're going to continue to do teen court. And we've added poor relief, and we need to get that caught up. Because again, that was something that just was at a standstill. And,
You're also going to be working with our ambulance department more,
Right.
trying to recover more funds.
yeah, we had a request from them to help with some collection issues, which again, we can do. And the idea is if the Treasury Department is going to fund additional attorneys, then Yankton County should do that and make sure that we can get us back to where we need to be.
How many full-time people does Clay have?
3
It has Alexis full-time
and 2 deputies.
and
full-time.
2 deputies.
And so
and-
does Brookings,
And Bonham has 2 people
and Davison has 3.
and Union
Full-time.
has 3.
Yeah, Davison has 3 and a part-time.
And what happens at the end of 3.5 years when you've started somebody on a $60,000 salary matrix, jumped them up according to the matrix, and then the state's attorney's office doesn't feel that they can do without this person?
Then we have it in our budget. I mean, at this point, we're utilizing a clerk from our office to do poor relief. And so if you look at that salary and you look at the fact that that's no longer being outsourced to a different department, you're maybe talking 20,000 as the difference.
And aren't you also then gonna be asking for more money for more staff?
At this point, we're not. We believe what we're gonna do is things like drafting, our own documents if we can, which I do quite often, and so does Tyler, so that we don't have to add an additional support staff person. Because the treasury ruling doesn't authorize additional support staff. So
What about computers?
we were able to, under the CARES Act money, get laptops for the 3 attorneys. So we actually have 3 laptops. That was one of the things that we could get last year. So we did do that. So we already have 3 laptops, which is good.
Any other questions or possible motion?
One was pretty thorough.
I'm sorry?
So you were pretty thorough there. Didn't leave anything
Well,
for
I
me.
guess my theory is, as long as, first of all, I'm somewhat hesitant with the starting salary of $60,000 for a person right out of school who knows nothing, who they have to teach. That's my first concern. However, having said that, given that the money, as I understand it, comes from a source other than a Yankton County pocket, and if it helps with the flow, if you will, of the state's attorney's office, then I guess I would move to approve the request to advertise for a new attorney.
Second.
So I have a motion by Fox, second by Healy to approve the request to advertise.
And that's until filled?
Yes.
Until filled.
Yes.
Further discussion?
And what would be the projected time frame in which you would be caught up?
Never.
Never. I mean, in all honesty.
That's what we hear from
No, but
the
in
legal system all the time.
no, in fairness to the state's attorney's office, meth is a huge problem. If you come up, and by all means, I would invite you to come up to Thursday's felony court, and you will see an entire day of meth, burglary in order to get money for meth, and more meth, forgery to get, I mean, I don't know that there's ever any catching up. However, again, in fairness to the state's attorney's office, they had dumped on them, as I understand, from the Supreme Court, a large number of poor relief things. And it doesn't sound to me like the poor relief claims are getting any lighter. They seem to be, everybody seems to have found a new pocket in which to pay their health care.
And so, Commissioner Kettering, I understand your question. It's, could we get caught up? The idea would be, that's why there's funds available from the federal government to hopefully get the backlog of court cases out of there. As far as our office is concerned, we're trying to figure out then, how do we continue to maintain poor relief, JDAI, helping out the ambulance, all the other things that we do indefinitely. So even if we get the court cases caught up, so to speak, using the federal dollars, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the same number or more, given the size of the number of our cases and the additional, mental illness. There is no other county in the state of South Dakota that has to do that. We are the only ones. We're obligated by statute. Again, thanks to a former state's attorney, we are obligated to do that. That isn't something we can push off on anyone else. So
I would ask those questions if they paid me. because I've done it before.
Any other comments?
No.
So the motion is to approve to advertise. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 5-0. Okay. Oops. So we are at the marijuana discussion.
right on time.
I was gonna say, you're kidding me.
Is there more meth than marijuana? We're gonna need another attorney.
No, the marijuana is just gonna complicate the meth, so to speak.
So I did have a chance to talk with the state's attorney's office a little bit about tonight. We really need to decide how we're going to generally handle this. And again, we went over the options. We can do it through zoning by limiting locations. We can do it with a license, or we can do a combination of both. And then we need to also discuss if we want to limit the facilities. So we have cultivation facilities, testing facilities, manufacturing facilities, and dispensaries. Hopefully you all had a chance to review the state's interim rules or proposed rules. I was pleasantly surprised at the breadth of those rules. In my opinion, we shouldn't replicate them at this level, because if we start replicating rules at this level, we've got to enforce those rules. So if the state has rules in place, those businesses have to follow those rules. It's not on the county to enforce those rules. So it has been mentioned about limiting locations to certain districts in the county. Some of you I talked to said, why does it matter where they go? It's no different than any other business. They have to prove their worth or they go out of business. So there is that. Now, if we choose to go with zoning ordinance, it should be heard, the first reading, in August at the Planning Commission, September 2 at the County Commission. By the time we publish, it would be in effect mid-October, and October 29th is when the state's go-live date supposedly is. So if we are going down the ordinance path and limiting these facilities to just commercial or lakeside commercial or just ag or whatever it is, we need to get moving. So the other is just a general license, like a liquor license, and we can do that just at the county commission level, not at the planning commission. So it saves you a whole month of steps, if you will. And by that, we can go through and we can limit licenses, or we can leave it unlimited, and we can set the fee. So with that, if there's any other opinions on those, I'm certainly open to all of that.
It's like it's already permitted in agriculture as a roadside stand.
Yeah, I just pulled some of that the other day.
I think we should do a license. I'm about all ordinanced out right now.
So we can, again, and we can give a license to all four of those. We can write the ordinance that we will or will not allow grow and manufacturing and testing and sales, essentially. And all of it would be outside city limits.
3 miles outside.
No, just outside
A
city
foot?
limits.
In theory?
1/10 of an inch.
Okay.
So opinions. I mean, we have talked about this at almost every meeting and said, yeah, we need to decide. Well, now it's July, year's half over, and October 29th will be here in a blink of an eye.
I think we should do licenses for all of them. Let people make their application, say where they're going to do it, and pay a fee, and they'll either make it work or they won't.
Okay, so no limit, just let the state handle everything.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, I just want to clarify. Any other opinions?
I agree with that. My only concern as I'm going through or just thinking how the process is gonna work. If I come forward, get a license for sales or whatever,
Cultivation.
cultivation. Okay, I have to do this somewhere in the county, so do we have to add this somewhere in our ordinance?
That it's a
That
permitted
it's a
use
permitted use, or what happens?
versus a condition
I'm gonna
just to
come in for a
permitted.
building permit to put
Maybe
up-
you're going to use a building that's already there.
Right.
Well, so right now hemp is legal and it's an ag product.
Mhm.
Yep.
So we don't need a permitted special listing for hemp in here. So is
Right.
marijuana considered an ag product?
I would say if you were growing it.
I
you're
think hemp is different than
You're an ag.
marijuana, cannabis.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
technically you could easily say it's an ag product if you're growing it. If you're a test facility.
Let's ask Gary. Gary, what would you want to see? You're going to be the one to get in all the complaints.
Well, like you said, there's a lot involved with this. You know, we have been doing a lot of ordinance work and I'm not sure at this point either if that's the best route to go. It seems like this would be something that might lend its way better just doing licenses. I agree that we probably don't need to limit them at this point. It is nice. The ordinance side of it that is nice is just basically the aspect of, yeah, you're defining which areas it could be in or not be in. But for this purpose, I'm not sure that really matters. So I think I'm leaning towards licensing seems to make sense more also.
Thanks, Gary.
So if you look at just agriculture, under conditional uses, you have something called manufacturing light. So could you say, when you're manufacturing the little products that
Testing and
go,
cultivation.
I don't even know where to start. I guess I've never been in a dispensary, so I mean, I'm assuming
brownies
or whatever.
and
So
gummies.
if you're manufacturing that would probably be manufacturing light, which is making, preparing, inspecting, finishing, treating, altering, repairing, storing, adapting for sale of any good substance article. So that in an ag district, a manufacturing facility would need a CUP. If you accepted that. Now, under a commercial district, it probably wouldn't. If I get to my commercial. Commercial. Manufacturing light is permitted use in a commercial district. So in a commercial district, if we used our current ordinance to accommodate, they wouldn't need a CUP in a commercial district, but they would in an ag. And they probably wouldn't be allowed in a residential.
I would think not.
I guess I didn't look at
And
the
that's what I'm
residential.
wondering, residential,
Not at your
is there a
house.
way that somebody can come forward and?
Home-based sales.
Manufacturing light
Say.
conditional use in low density is allowed.
Sorry?
Low density residential manufacturing light is a CUP. And it's not allowed in moderate. And it wouldn't be allowed in high density, I wouldn't think.
You know, the only problem with manufacturing light, if you look at the definition, it specifically says you can have no more than 10 employees. That might be an issue. I don't know.
Oh, I see, Dan, yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that,
Well, what about counterfeit catering? Just as a hypothetical.
Mm.
That's at 6 Meridian Hops.
They're in rural transition.
And I don't think they have 10 people,
Mm.
but she used to cater out of Omaha, is my recollection. So she could make brownies and
I think
whatever
she's
else
under
they
home
make.
Occupation.
What?
I think she's considered a home occupation, I think is what they got the.
Is that what they get,
permit
home-based
under.
business?
I think.
But
So then I think you have to look at the state regulations, and though, that's gonna prohibit some of that. If you're talking about, if you look at the 105 pages, something like a home occupation would
No,
not,
th-
would
this
not
is
cut it.
security cameras and
Right.
this is all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's very detailed.
Oh, yeah.
Even the grow operations, 6-foot fence with
Right.
probably barbed
Razor
wire or
wire.
whatever it was. And
So I support that. I just wonder if we can get away from addressing the ordinance or if we're gonna have to at some.
Well, let's just go with licenses and see how it works. Worst thing that happens is it doesn't work and we have to have an ordinance. That's worst possible scenario. Because how long has Article 5 been in discussion? 4 years, 3 years?
Just an hour.
Before my time?
Couple of hours.
oh, okay. Well,
I think it would just be good to say for tonight, assuming you can do a license, how many of the commissioners would feel comfortable assuming that works? How many would rather pursue the ordinance? And then that gives our office the opportunity, to look to see what's out there. I mean, right now I have ordinances that I've found. But it doesn't mean the licenses aren't out there. I contacted Clay County today and they have not addressed it yet.
Maybe you could just scratch through where it says alcohol and put in cannabis.
I lean toward just a license too.
Okay, so license.
Wouldn't they,
What are
if you're
you,
gonna do a
Don?
license, wouldn't they just make new forms? Probably.
Well,
Ultimately.
this would be just a county form.
This would
because
just
the
be a
state has a
county.
whole separate
Oh, I see.
license. Yeah,
Like a package sale.
the
Yep.
state
Form.
cannot tell us how many licenses to have.
No. So every county is going to decide, is it going to be ordinance or license? If you go ordinance, you're going to enact an ordinance. If you're going to do license, then the county would determine and what goes in your packet and all of that. And then you would pay a fee like you do for alcohol, but then everything goes up to the state and then the state has to issue their license.
And they will pick and choose based upon your FBI, NCIC, III report in part.
Yeah,
may
they,
be able to find some of those materials in the other states that already are doing it, so.
Yeah, I would think.
No, go ahead.
Well, based on her recommendation, I vote license.
I'm-
What do
I
you
vote
vote?
license.
yeah, I'm a supporter of license.
I'm a supporter. of
So
license.
there we go, 5-0 license.
So I've always got to muddy the waters here. What are we talking for a license?
So the city,
Just the sales? Or do I need to get a license to grow it?
yeah,
Do I need a license to test it?
Well, I think in your license application, it could be, you want to do A, B, C, or D. Maybe you want to grow it and make it.
Well,
Maybe you
'cause-
want to grow it, test it, and make brownies.
so the
Well-
state separates.
They do.
So I think we should too. I think we should follow along with what the state's doing. Now, the city here, the city of Yankton is doing a 1,500 application and a 3,000 renewal fee. The state is $5,000, isn't it?
Yes.
So- For their application fee. I thought it was 5.
Well,
Is that a
just-
one-time?
That's
No,
for the app.
It's for the
application
You can set the yearly
fee.
fee.
Yeah, I don't know if the state's keeping that yearly or not. Gosh.
So if we went $1,500 and then 3,000 like the city is. You're paying 5,000 to the state, 1,500 to the city, just to get your doors open.
Yeah, the
Yep.
1,500 is non-refundable.
Oh,
too.
plus-
So you don't
Plus, you have to have high definition security that keeps at least 30
Oh,
days.
yeah.
You
It's-
have to have secure facilities. You have to have locking doors between the entrance and where your product is. You have to have a DEA acceptable safe to put your product in at night. It's like a jewelry store. You take your product out of the locked cases and put it in the safe at the end of the day.
Invisible laser security system.
And a Labrador.
And then
Cheaper.
lots of
The barking
lights
dog.
shooting all over.
So.
Well, like on
it's-
the liquor license and malt beverage, it lists, you know, if you want to on off or just a, you know, why couldn't you just list everything that you can get?
I think you want an off sale. Just my thought.
And the only reason I would say, and I agree with Gary, that given the number of states that have medical marijuana, certainly good to look. It's clear though from the state that they really don't want necessarily overlap when you look at their regulations. So
You mean
it-
growing and making.
it would be a separate license for each of those things. And I get what you're saying, that it's one form and you check, that might be a possibility. I
But you
don't
could
know.
also file 4.
But you could also file one for each of the things that you want.
The only thing would be cost prohibition.
But you have to anyway, because the state is gonna do it per
Application.
Activity or whatever.
right. So if theoretically, if you did 2 or 3 of the options, you'd pay a fee to Yankton County, and then you would have to pay a separate fee for each of those 3 to the state.
Cause like right now, the money that goes to the state, you know, we keep half and then we send a check to the state.
What do we do with our
They pay-
half?
That's for liquor, yeah.
Mhm.
For this, we get to keep it all.
Yeah.
What's our current liquor?
15
15 every annual, even the first time?
once a year. Yep.
I'm seeing, I mean, I'd like to, whatever we end up here, I'd like it to be able to just roll into rec if that.
So to
comes up.
speak.
Yeah, so to speak.
No pun intended.
And we can look at that too. I know there was discussion originally. Lots of people were preparing a rec and a medical ordinance, and then the lawsuit happened. So they kind of changed gears and separated the two. There was no ruling last week. Whether it happens this week, I have no idea, but the idea would be if it does happen before you would get this in place, just adding the recreational to it as well.
Cause I would assume if you're one of the first people that has the medical sales, it's gonna be pretty dang easy to transition into rec sales. Cause you're gonna have
One
the
would think.
facility set up.
But I think you're gonna have to have, I don't know, I don't think you can sell on the same facility.
The state might require they be separate, because one's going to be Department of Health, the other's Department of Revenue.
What about growing?
See, that I think will probably overlap,
Right.
I would think, and the
Testing,
manufacturing and the
growing,
testing and stuff.
manufacturing's probably all gonna
I would
be-
think
and then
those
you
could
have
be
to have different
merged.
Storefronts, but
Correct.
Right. So, but that is all dependent on every Thursday.
yeah.
We see if something gets published. So with that being said, it sounds like the consensus is a license. This is the first part of July. I would think by maybe the first part of August, we could have a draft of something with the target of the second part of August, kind of really getting it together. And then we need hearings and stuff. We can get those done in September. So if
And
every-
if it comes back, you know, there's a directive that it's gotta be something different, you know, I'll let let you know, I found a PowerPoint today that I'll send to Valerie or Gary that sent out to you that explains the 105 pages in about 10.
Yeah.
So it's well worth at least going through there to understand.
Will it have on there how much, to advertise and stuff?
I think so. But I can't remember.
If for some reason you feel it can't just simply be a license deal, just let us know. And I think everybody should have a fairly good idea in their mind what it's gonna take, you know, what districts that we're gonna allow it in, and I don't know. Should be fairly simple process, but I've said that before.
Okay. So with that, we will close out item 12. And item 13 is claims. Any questions on the claims?
I'd move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the claims. Further discussion. There was one printed claim here too,
Yeah.
or I guess there's a couple there.
Late claims.
So any discussion? All in favor of approving the claims, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. And June payroll.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the June payroll. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item 14, approval of June 15, 2021.
Do you want those separate or all together?
Separate.
They would be separate, and then the strategic planning we will not do because it was not published. So we're looking first at just June 15.
I would move approval of the June 15, 2021 minutes.
Second.
I have a motion by Fox, second by Clemish to approve the June 15th, 2021 meeting minutes. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. And then the June 25th budget meeting.
I would move approval of the June 25th, 2021 annual budget meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Fox, second by Kettering to approve the budget meeting minutes. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. And we are at public comment. Would anyone care to make a final public comment? Public comment is closed. Oh,
Can I sit here and do it?
sure, that's fine.
Okay, I'm Jeff Bell. You mentioned about, just doing it just outside the city limits. With that,
Cannabis.
what about the city? They got that ETJ. That's a mile radius.
3 mile.
The law was written for city limits, is my understanding. So ETJ, I do not believe it has anything to do with that. It's a good question though, Jeff.
I was just wondering when you said that.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll close public comment after that. Commissioner updates. Anything to share?
Well, we're moving along with the NFAA 3 separate archery tournaments that are going to be held starting, I believe, September 14th and continuing through the 29th of September, which is going to be held down at the park with a replica of of Mount Rushmore that is apparently quite large. And that's going to be the backdrop for all the people shooting. And of course,
5 heads on that.
what?
Is there 4 or 5 heads?
Right now, there's 4 heads. But we'll see what we can do about getting a 5th one just put up there for you.
When is that?
What?
When is that?
That is September 14th through the 29th of September. And there's going to be what they call the World Congress, the World championship, and then I can't remember what the third one is. But it's going to be a lot of extra people in Yankton brought here by the NFAA and Bruce Cull, and they anticipate that it will be in excess of $3 million worth of revenue for Yankton. And if you're looking for a hotel room during that period, there are none. They're all the bed and breakfasts, Airbnbs are all booked for that
Do they
3
have
week.
any program to host somebody, like a host family that you know?
They aren't doing that, as I understand, because their teams are anywhere from 4 to 12 people. So I don't know how many people would be able to host 12 additional people in their house. Yeah.
Depends on how comfortable they think they want to be.
Well, in Don's house, maybe. And Hyundai is the sponsor of these 3 events, and they're bringing in 2 truckloads of brand new Hyundais to cart these people around for 2 weeks, which should be interesting.
Great.
So apparently you should plan not to eat out during that time as well,
Definitely won't.
because they're going to feed them within the community.
Any other updates?
Rockathon for the senior centers tomorrow from 10:30 to 1:30.
From when?
10:30 to 1:30.
Okay.
And I move we go into executive session so we can
Wait,
talk
hang
about
on.
poor relief.
Hang on, one thing. I just wanted to keep you informed. I continue to listen to the Treasury calls and the NACO calls on the ARPA funding. The window is still open. I think there's still 10 days for if you care to comment on their interim rules. I sent some things in and I've been reading comments from other counties and getting ideas. They've got some good comments out there and things that I overlooked as far as like when our money's freed up, can we use that how we'd like to, or do we still have to follow federal guidelines? There's kind of a big difference between those. So there's a lot of good clarification being made out there. So hopefully Treasury we can all tip them our way and we can get some more leeway, I guess, to spend these dollars. But at this time, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session for poor relief
So
pursuant
moved.
to SDCL 125-2, 2813, 2813 1.3.
So moved.
So moved. Second by Healy. Discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are now in executive session.
I was wondering about that. Saw that was fired off again.
Got a car again this year?
All right, microphones, if you'd turn your microphones on. Entertain a motion to come out of executive session. I have a motion and a second to come out of executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. There will be no action taken as a result of the executive session. Items for next meeting.
Cannabis licensing.
Yes, I don't know, I don't think we need it on the next one, probably the first meeting in August.
Okay.
Unless something
I was just
changes.
tossing out ideas.
Right, like a Supreme Court ruling or something.
Article
Okay.
5.
Poor relief position or something along.
How do you
those
want
lines.
it stayed on the agenda to start looking for someone to review those cases?
Poor relief contractual help.
Okay. Okay, I think that's it for right now. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.